Welcome back. Wednesday lunchtime. What's that old saying? There are two certainties in life, death and taxes. Well, this afternoon, the 2021 budget speech is going to require a deft balancing act from the Finance Minister. Pundits say while some taxes may be revised, he is more likely to prioritise economic growth rather than just push up tax rates. I'm joined now by Sharon Smulders from the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants as we look forward to 2 o'clock this afternoon. Sharon, good afternoon to you and welcome. So the general sense, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that personal income tax rates probably won't increase, but we are going to hear about this thing called fiscal drag.
Yes, thanks, Jeremy. As you know, a lot of people have lost their jobs. Personal income tax is one of the largest revenue generators for our fiscus. So what they most likely will do is not change the bracket so that anybody that receives an increase will automatically land up paying more if they move up to the next tax bracket. Again, our personal tax rates are quite high if you compare it internationally. So we doubt that they'll do it. They might introduce an additional tax bracket above the 45%. So if they introduce, for those earning above 2 million rand, if they start paying 48% tax rather than 45% tax, that could bring in an additional about 5 billion rand for the fiscus. But yes, I think with the economy at the moment, increasing taxes at this stage is not the way to go.
All right, Sharon, that's personal income tax. Now let's look at company taxes. If I'm not mistaken, the global average is around 23.5%. We pay 28%. There is some expectation that we could see a reduction.
Look, that will be very welcome, I think, especially for, the smaller businesses at this stage who are battling. And to be honest, it's not just the smaller businesses. We've seen a lot of the bigger businesses grappling with cash flow at this stage because of COVID. And yes, our tax rates are high. And for us to remain globally competitive, it is something that we need to, we definitely can't increase it. But reducing it would be a most welcome change.
I just want to come back because you've just jogged my memory about this possible new high-level tax income bracket. Would that be akin to what a lot of people are talking about when it comes to a wealth tax? That's effectively what it would be, wouldn't it?
In a way, yes. Whereas a lot of the wealth taxes, there was a recent report done saying that, wealth tax can bring in about 160 billion rand for South Africa. And that would be based more on asset value rather than actual taxable income as such. So whereas the tax bracket would be based on your taxable income, a wealth tax would generally be based on your assets. And the concern that we have with that is that, a lot of people might have a lot of assets, but they wouldn't necessarily have the cash to pay tax on those assets. So they actually have to sell some of those assets in order to pay the wealth tax on those particular assets. So, the Davis Tax Committee did mention it a while back. They looked into a wealth tax. At this stage, from South Africans' perspective, bringing the administration for a new tax, it just doesn't seem viable. A lot of our wealthy are leaving, which is concerning, reducing our taxpayer base. So it's not something that's easy implementable, and whether or not we'll bring in enough revenue compared to the costs of actually administering it is something that we would need to consider seriously before the government does consider introducing a wealth tax.
Talking about the administration of tax, the fuel levy is an easier one to administer.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't driving as much as they are. It's something that is easily administrable. It's already in place, and increasing that brings a lot of additional revenue. However, it does have a knock-on effect, obviously, on the costs of all other products that are being sold and the economy. So it's definitely going to increase, but it's not going to bring in as much as it used to because a lot of people aren't traveling because of COVID.
And finally, we have a very angry liquor industry. We know that much of the dissatisfaction is about to end up in court, but inevitably, in spite of the pleading from the big organizations like AB InBev, we will see a sin tax increase.
Unfortunately, yes. I think, the whole background behind the introduction of these sin taxes is because it is seen as a sin, specifically now in light of COVID as well. They want to free up the hospital space for COVID cases. So it's definitely going to be something on their cards. It's always on the cards. And this year, I think, will be no different. However, yes, an industry that is battling, and they do need to look at the wider picture that it is also a very large employer. And my suggestion there would be is that SARS and them need to start focusing on the illicit industry, which both from an alcohol and tobacco side has thrived during the time of COVID. And this is where I think the revenue authorities and South African Revenue Service and the police should be focusing their attention to try and bring in the tax evaders in this regard to get the income that should have been paid into the fiscus.
All right, Sharon.